everyone, and welcome to Huawei OptiXLive. I'm your host, Musia. Today, I'm joined by Julie Kunstler, who is a Senior Principal Analyst of Broadband Access at Omdia. We're going to talk about the industry trend of super vector. So my first question is that currently the broadband speed is skyrocketing, yet the abundant copper wire resources on current network cannot keep up. So what challenges does this pose?
Sure. So the first major challenge is that more than 200 million households are still on copper-based broadband networks, and they're experiencing very low bandwidth speeds, sometimes 2 megabits, sometimes up to 30 megabits. This means that they cannot take advantage of higher bandwidth applications, such as e-education, remote education, HD TV, online gaming. Second, copper-based networks are really constrained by what we call the local loop, the copper local loop lengths. And those lengths have to be shortened to be able to provide higher copper-based bandwidth speeds. But in order to do so requires investment. And that investment concerns operators because they know that ultimately, whether in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they will want to go to fiber-based networks. So how can they invest now in copper and ensure that they can reuse those investments in the future?
So how could traditional copper wire network quickly improve the network performance with the lowest input?
There are several actions that an operator can undertake, and Huawei is helping operators be successful with this. The first is to look at their plans and to ensure that whatever investments they make in their copper network today can be reused, whether it's ductwork, fiber to the curb, deployments and such, can be reused in the future. Second, Huawei has developed software and tools so that operators can know ahead of time how much bandwidth their copper-based networks can actually support. And this is very important because there's a technology called super vectoring, which is the next stage in copper-based bandwidth upgrades. And not only does Huawei have solutions for super vectoring, but they can help operators identify where super vectoring is going to work, and by reducing some of those copper loop lengths, how to get bandwidth up to 300 megabits and beyond. And finally, there's a Huawei technology called the curb PON. And this is basically putting in mini OLTs at the curb sites, which enables operators to move some of their subscribers over to fiber-based networks immediately without losing their investment in their copper networks.
Thank you, Julie, for your answer. So what advice would you give to traditional copper line operators?
The most important thing is to begin to plan their migration to higher bandwidth speeds on copper and be able to reuse those investments when they move to fiber and do the coordination between their copper upgrades and their future fiber plans. The second is to reduce their copper loop lengths. And this they can do quite quickly. And with the right technology, they can know where they're going to get the biggest increase in their bandwidth and keep their subscribers the happiest. The other thing that we're seeing with super vectoring, with the right coordination, the investments that they make in fiber to the curb can be reused in fiber to the home, which really solves their business case issues.
Thank you so much, Julie, for sharing your great insight about super vector. This brings us to the end of today's Huawei OptiXLive. Thank you so much for joining us.